Hello, hello, hello. Long time no see. How's it going, everybody? It's me, McRed2. I'm back again. It's been like a year and a half. Life has been crazy, but I figured I might as well get back to content creation. It's something I really enjoy and haven't really had time for in the last year. But I'm glad to be back. Today we're going to be covering a couple of topics. To jump back in, we're going to be attacking some low-hanging fruit just to get back into the swing of reaction content, political content, things of that nature. Just so we can really get a feel of how things are going now and how I can get back into the swing of it, you know, get used to, I guess, talking to nobody for at least a little while. I'm going to start streaming these instead of just recording them offline and uploading them. And I'm streaming on YouTube now instead of Twitch like I used to. So yeah, here we go. We're going to hop into the first one here with some Matt Walsh, as the title explains. I saw this video and I figured I might take a look at it. It seems like he's speaking to a live audience. It's only a minute and a half long video, so I figured it'd be something quick to cover, just to see what he has to say. Matt Walsh is usually pretty fucking stupid with his takes, his views, and his opinions. I know he recently dropped his What is a Woman documentary. I've seen clips of it. I'm not going to pay him money to see that bullshit. But the clips of it that I have seen, it looks like he is either blatantly, he does blatantly lie to just about everybody that I've seen him talk to in that video, but he'll either search for stupid people that don't really know much about the topic to get stupid answers, or he will blatantly edit around thoughtful answers to the question of what is a woman, which is an easy enough question to answer. Come on. All right. It's an easy enough question to answer, which is, of course, a woman is anyone who identifies with the gender most typically associated with the female sex. I know he doesn't agree with that answer, even though that's the most common answer accepted by psychologists and doctors and anyone in the medical field, but he doesn't seem to agree with that, and anyone that gives him a thoughtful answer on what is a woman, I've seen clips where he blatantly edits around an actual answer to that question to make it seem like no one in his video knows what they're talking about. But today's video is the goal of gender ideology. I don't know what he means by that, but let's go ahead and find out.
Number 4, the ultimate goal of gender ideology goes far beyond
Let's turn this
gender.
down a little bit.
A word which has been expanded, into oblivion anyway.
Has it?
The ultimate goal is to undermine, destroy, erase truth itself. Leftism is relativism, and relativism is the belief that there is no objective truth, no shared reality, no universal facts that we all have to conform ourselves around and submit ourselves to.
No. He is correct that leftist ideology tends to follow along that there are no universal truths because of reality, because reality is, by its very nature subjective. Let's go ahead and review what he just had to say.
Have to conform ourselves around reality, no universal facts that we all have to conform ourselves around and submit ourselves to.
Well, there are universal facts that we have to submit ourselves to and unify around, but those are observable facts about the universe, the speed of light, the distance between the Earth and the sun, how gravity works, the fact that the Earth is round, things that are measurable and determinable through definitive objective facts and data, whereas something like gender, which is, as we know, a social construct, is not something that can be measured with points on a spreadsheet, or with measured with a ruler or anything like that. It's how our society has constructed itself around for the longest time we believed, two sexes, and we built the roles of gender around biological functions. Men typically being stronger on a biological level, musculature, things like that, would for the longest time do things like hunting and building and manual labor, whereas women, for the longest time, was believed that women exclusively had uteruses and the ability to bear children, and therefore it follows on that they should be the natural caretakers of them. Now, science and the study of human psychology have advanced to the point where we're able to re-examine those things. Things like intersex people born with XXY and XYY chromosomes, or people born with female chromosomes, yet being born as cis men with male reproductive organs, despite not having the chromosomes to line up with that, which flies in the face of what science has told people his age for the longest time, what makes someone a woman or what makes someone a man. And that makes him uncomfortable because he's having to re-examine his worldview and the way that he looks at reality itself, because everything that he was taught growing up, turns out, may not necessarily be true.
The relativist claims the right to invent his own universe for himself. Right?
No, we're just adapting to the data as it comes along. We're adapting our thoughts and opinions and the way we view the world to new data that comes in. Like I mentioned before, intersex people are people that were born with the opposite chromosomes to the bodies that they were born in, as well as changes in the way of looking at things through the lens of psychology, such as trans people, the concept of gender dysphoria, people being born one gender or one sex, but not identifying with that sex as far as their gender is concerned, and identifying with either the opposite or another, being non-binary or third gender. We don't invent our own reality, we follow where the data goes. It's just conservatives are diametrically opposed to science because it disagrees with their worldview.
Right, even to the point of inventing himself. He seeks to be a self-created being, making and remaking himself as he sees fit, down to the very biological level. He believes that his ego overrides all else.
So I know Matt Walsh is a conservative Christian, and his Christian beliefs really influenced his worldview and the way he looks at himself. So when he says things like someone who invented themselves, he takes offense to the concept that people don't believe that they were created through some divine influence, through some sort of God or creator being actually creating you, that we are the product of evolution. Which is what science tells us, but it flies in the face of his personal beliefs. And so he's equating people not believing they were divinely created, and instead, through the process of evolution and extrapolating that, expanding that idea that it wasn't a hard set rule that people were created, and allowing, and basically saying that leftists, wokeists, whatever, are allowing them to reinvent all of reality because what we believe disagrees with what he was raised to believe and still does.
Everything must bow before it. Language, institutions, science, even his own DNA. This is why I found myself speaking to Pontius Pilate over and over again. What is truth? The gender ideologues would ask. Whose truth? Which truth are we talking about?
That's true. Which truth are we talking about? Are we talking about the truth that Christian conservatives that believe, that Muslims believe, that Buddhists believe, that pagans believe, or are we talking about the truth that science leads us to? The fact that there are people that are intersex, the fact that there are people that were born male yet identify as a woman, or born female yet identify as men.
I was sitting in the same...
Let's go ahead and review.
I was sitting in the same room.
Nope.
Which truth are we talking about?
Yes, which truth are we talking about? Are we talking about his truth, or are we talking about the truth that science and data leads us to, and it makes him uncomfortable that the science and the data disagree with him?
I was sitting in the same room as them, but they would not agree that we were situated in the same reality.
No, the problem you took was that they wouldn't agree with you on your worldview, that your worldview was the one that was correct, that your worldview was more right than theirs. And because they wouldn't agree with you, you seem to at least believe, or at least say that you believe, that they aren't existing in the same reality as you, because they don't believe the same as you, because they don't believe that man and women were created by some divine being and were born, and that you're born a particular sex, and that sex pertains to just your gender, and there is no deviating from that. Because that's your worldview, and other people disagree with that, you have to convince yourself that people just don't exist in the same reality as you. People just have different opinions, and the fact that you're not following the data, you're not following science, you're not following where the medical community is going, says to me that you're not living in our reality because it disagrees with your preconceived notions and makes you a little bit uncomfy.
They get their own reality, they insisted. And that ultimately is what this is all about. It's about having your own reality.
So gender ideology is about having...
All right, Matt Walsh.
Nope. So gender ideology is about having your own reality? No. Gender ideology, if that's what you want to call it, is just, like I've said multiple times, following the science, following the data, following the medical community, and what that leads us to. The reality that the data leads us to, rather than old superstition or just what you had been taught, and ignoring that, ignoring new data and instead clinging to your preconceived notions, clinging to what you were raised to believe when the science had not yet developed to the point that it was able to reveal to us, I suppose. What we know today shows that you and people that think like you, Matt, don't want to accept what reality is because it makes you uncomfortable. It makes it so that you have to question what you believe. So you have to convince yourself, and therefore others, because you're a media figure, that it's everyone else who is crazy. It's everyone else that's not living in reality, rather than accepting the fact that maybe you are wrong. I've had to accept that I was wrong in the past. It sucks. But the less mature thing to do is to just stick your head in the sand, pretend that you're not wrong, and call everyone else crazy when they disagree with you. That's what you're doing. We're not asserting our own reality. We're just following the direction that reality is taking us. It's not our fault that you have a problem with it. Okay, that was kind of fun. I can still do this. I need to get a little bit less wordy with my rambling, I suppose. But the second thing I wanted to talk about today, I don't really have a video to react to. The second thing I wanted to talk about today is just kind of a rant that I need to go on. So I spend a lot of time on TikTok, because there's at my work there's a lot of downtime. My daughter, I spend a lot of time on TikTok because, like I said, at my work there's a lot of downtime, and it's good for the ADHD brain, just being able to swipe from one video to the next. And I end up on the left side of politics TikTok a lot. On a lot of progressive content creators and a lot of leftist content creators. Their content comes up on my feed, and there is a common theme that I'm seeing with a bunch of different left-wing creators on TikTok and Twitter, and it's starting to bleed its way over onto YouTube, which is part of the reason why I wanted to hop back into the game, as it were, was to kind of speak my mind about the problem of anti-electoralism in particularly with American leftists. The problem with anti-electoralism is a lot of people on the left don't want to vote for the blue team because the blue team isn't progressive. They're not. They're right-leaning centrist at best, except for a couple of them like AOC, Ilhan Omar, and obviously Bernie Sanders, whom we all love. They're left-leaning centrist, especially on a world stage, and especially compared to many of us, like myself. I'm a socialist. They don't represent me, but they do a hell of a lot better of a job representing me than the Republicans do, than the red team does. And so a lot of people on the left, they don't want to vote blue. There were a lot of Bernie or busters that flat out refused to vote for Biden in 2020, which was insane, especially after the shenanigans that Donald Trump had been doing for the previous 4 years and then continued doing. A month after the election was over, do we not remember January 6th? And yet those people still stick to, I'm glad I didn't vote for Biden. Why? Biden doesn't speak for us. He's not doing anything for us, and arguably he's not doing anything for the country. But he's not attacking us. The thing about American politics is there are only two teams. There's only two teams in all of American politics. There's the red team and there's the blue team. And you have to pick one. Now, some people will say, oh, what about the Libertarian Party? What about the Green Party? What about the Socialist Party? They're not politically relevant in America. They're simply not. If you look at electoral data and voting data from the past 30 years, as long as I've been alive, no third-party candidate has gotten more than 2% of the vote, in the popular vote at least, in any federal election. Third-party voting is not viable in America because we don't have ranked choice voting. We have first past the post voting. So whoever gets the most votes wins. The problem I have with people on the left voting third party is by not voting for the team that's not doing anything for us. By not voting for the blue team, you are making it that much easier for open fascists, white nationalists, and Nazis to gain power on a federal level. Not to mention down ballot voting, but on a federal level. Republicans being in power is infinitely worse than Democrats being in power, especially for leftists, especially for socialists, communists, anarchists, what have you. For us, Democrats being in power is infinitely better than the Republicans being in power. But leftists refuse to accept that because the Democrats and the Republicans are the same to me. Anti-electoralist leftists are the rational centrists meme to me, where they can look at both sides, the red team wanting to take away women's rights, take away civil rights, and commit active violence against the LGBT community and being open about it, and the blue team that just, well, we don't really have the votes and it won't help us campaign next year if we pass things like voting rights or universal health care, things like that, codify Roe into law. So they're just not doing the good things, whereas you have the red team that is actively doing bad things and being very successful at it. And they'll look at those and say that they're the same. They will look at the Democrats and the Republican Party and say they are the same to them when they're objectively not. The blue team doesn't help us, but the red team is trying to kill us in a multitude of different ways. They're stripping us of our rights one by one. Roe v. Wade just fell. That's going to make it incredibly dangerous and difficult for people who want to have children, like myself and my wife, to have more safely. My wife has health issues that make pregnancy and even conceiving incredibly difficult and very dangerous. Just last year, my wife had an ectopic pregnancy and needed to have an abortion to save her life. If we were living in a red state and it happened this year, my wife would be dead right now. And yes, a lot of people will point at these trigger laws in these states and say, well, there's nothing in the law saying they can't treat for ectopic pregnancy. There's nothing in those laws saying that they can. And a lot of doctors are hesitating or not treating patients with ectopic pregnancies or partial miscarriages or full miscarriages that the body hasn't evacuated, and allowing those women to suffer and in some cases die because they're waiting on a response from their legal department so that they don't go to jail. And women that do need those services, whether it's for, oops, my birth control failed, or the fetus inside of me is trying to kill me, or is going to kill me, those women now lost the right to have bodily autonomy, and in some cases, save their own lives. There was a case in Ohio of a 10-year-old SA victim, a 10-year-old rape victim, that had to go to Indiana to get an abortion because she was raped and impregnated. And you know what the Republicans are doing? They're investigating the doctor in Indiana that performed the abortion on a 10-year-old that had been sexually assaulted and impregnated. A 10-year-old. How the fuck is a 10-year-old supposed to give birth? Yet they call themselves pro-life. And in the opinion that was released by SCOTUS, they said that they wanted to re-examine Obergefell versus Hodges, which is gay marriage. They wanted to re-examine Lawrence v. Texas, which is anti-sodomy laws. If those two Supreme Court statutes go away or get overruled, it will be illegal to be gay or lesbian or queer or what have you in the United States. Because anti-sodomy laws basically make it so that it's illegal to have any type of intercourse that's not straight penis vagina sex. It does. Now, I don't think the cops or the GOP are going to want to enforce anti-sodomy laws when it comes to their wives performing oral or letting them, knock on the back door. But when it comes to a gay couple, absolutely. When it comes to a lesbian couple, absolutely. They're trying to make it illegal to be gay in America. That's their goal. Ted Cruz even recently just said that the Supreme Court was wrong in their decision in Obergefell v. Hodges. The Republicans are trying to take away your rights. Another one, interracial marriage. Loving versus Virginia. The one that allows Clarence Thomas, the Supreme Court Justice, who drafted the opinion, to remain married to his white wife. They want to re-examine that. They're attacking voting rights with voter ID laws in southern states that are targeting people of color, specifically looking for the IDs that they're most commonly are possessed by them, and ruling out those IDs so that they can't use those to vote, making it more difficult for non-white people to vote on purpose. Or mail-in voting. They're wanting to ban mail-in voting in several states. In Texas in 2020, they had one ballot drop-off box. The GOP decided one ballot drop-off box per county. That means a county in bumfuck nowhere with 1,000 people in it had the same number of ballot drop-off boxes, as Austin, Texas, that has over a million people living in it. Same number. To make it difficult for blue voters who live in big cities to be able to cast their vote so that Texas doesn't flip blue, because they know that if everyone in Texas that was legally able to vote was able to vote and had their vote counted, Texas would be a blue state overnight. If everyone in 2024, let's say, if everyone in Texas that is legally able to vote casts their vote in Texas, Texas would be blue. They're trying to prevent them from doing that. Speaking of voter laws, another ramification of Roe v. Wade being overturned is a woman's right to vote is come into question, because if you're a woman in these states and you get an abortion, or if you go to another state to obtain that abortion and you go back home, you'll be charged with murder, which is a felony. And felonies take away your right to vote. You see, the GOP knows that they're not going to be able to get, the 14th Amendment overturned. They're not. They know they're not going to be able to get it overturned because they would need to ratify it with 2/3 of states, and 2/3 of states are not going to vote for that. So what do? They implement roadblocks along the way to prevent women from being able to vote, because women, with the exception of white women, vote overwhelmingly blue. And even most white women, nearly half, I should say, of white women vote blue. So if women can't vote, there goes a fuck ton of of blue voters. And if only white people can vote, there goes a fuck ton more. They're trying to make it so that only straight white men are able to vote. Because if you're gay and they take away the protections for anti-sodomy laws, sodomy in some states, I believe on the books, is a felony. There goes your right to vote. Who do gay people overwhelmingly vote for? The blue team. They're trying to make it so you can't vote to keep them out of power. And they're doing it at an alarming rate. The only way to stop them is to put people in that won't do those things. Even if they're not going to help us, they won't do the bad thing. What else what is the GOP coming for? The rights of parents and children and their doctors to make medical decisions. We're talking about trans kids. For some reason, the GOP has pushed this talking point that if your kid is trans, all you got to do is go to the doctor and be like, "Little Timmy, he's been playing with Barbies," and boom, they'll put you on fucking HRT and get you a top and bottom surgery next month, which is not the case. Nobody under the age of 18, with the exception of extreme fringe cases, is receiving any sort of gender confirmation surgery under the age of 18. By and large, at least until the age of 16, all they'll get is puberty blockers, which if they decide later on, which is incredibly rare, that they actually aren't trans and oopsie doodles, I'm cis, they just go off of that and start puberty late. No ill effects. It's negligible. But they've convinced their constituency that that's what's going to happen, that kids are just going to, a girl's going to start playing with cars, and next thing you know, boom, they're a boy now, which isn't true. So there are several states that have already passed laws, like Idaho. I believe it's Idaho. I'd have to look into that. But Idaho, I believe, just passed a law banning any sort of trans-affirming health care for anyone under the age of 18, and to disencourage and disincentivize parents from just socially transitioning their children, which isn't it's not permanent. It's not a medical procedure. It's just calling them by their preferred pronouns, calling them by their preferred name, referring to them by their preferred gender. States are trying to ban that. There's even a bill that was thankfully not passed, that was submitted in, I think, Ohio, that was trying to ban all trans affirmative care, even for adults. They don't want you being able to, you and your children and your children's doctor, your pediatrician, from being, they're trying to stop them from making medical decisions. The Democrats aren't doing that. The Democrats aren't doing anything to protect that, but they're not attacking that. But they're the same, right? What about education? Which party is the one that wants to defund education, swap it over to private schools so that only the rich kids can get a decent education because poor kids can't afford to go to a private school? Even with school choice vouchers, it's not enough to pay for tuition at a private school. And if there are no public schools, well, looks like the poor kids, predominantly children of color, don't get to have an education. The Democrats and the Republicans, they're not the same. And so many leftists, people who call themselves leftists, I suppose, try to say that they are. And my response to them is, sure, the blue team isn't helping us, but vote for them anyway because it just takes an afternoon or 20 minutes filling out your mail-in ballot, and then you can go back to activism. But vote for them, because the red team is the other team, the only other option, and if you don't vote blue, red will win. Especially without your vote, depending on what state you live in. Right now we're in the middle of a waiting game. The game that we're playing is we are waiting for the boomers to die off, particularly the boomers in power. Blue team, Democrat, millennial politicians like AOC and Ilhan Omar are rather progressive. They are different than the Nancy Pelosi's and the Chuck Schumers and the Joe Bidens of previous generations. They're not the same politicians. Ilhan Omar and AOC are very active, very vocal, and push very hard for progressive policies. Is it going anywhere? No. Because the boomer politicians are standing in their way. But they don't have much time left. We've already seen, at least on the Democratic side, on the left, elected politicians on the left from newer generations, millennials and onward, when they get into power, they actually do shit to help people, or at least try. Sure, right now they've got the boomer politicians standing in their way, but what's going to happen when Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and Joe Biden and all of the other boomer Democrats aren't in the way? If we can fill Congress in 10 or 15 years, if we have that long, with millennial and potentially Gen Z politicians that are progressive minded and are willing to vote for things like universal health care, universal basic services, universal housing, universal basic income, voting rights, codifying Roe v. Wade into law, codifying gay marriage and interracial marriage into law rather than just having it relying on Supreme Court precedent, you will see change in a positive direction. It sucks, I know. Right now we're playing a big old waiting game, waiting for the boomers to die off, but it's already starting to happen. We're already starting to see boomer politicians, socialites, and media personalities from the boomer generation hopping into their grave with both feet. And it's happening more and more. More and more of them are not waking up in the morning because they're old. This is not me wishing death on them. They're just old. They are. They are in their 60s, 70s, and 80s. Life expectancy is, 79, I think, right now? We don't have that much longer to wait. And I understand we don't have that much longer left, especially when it comes to climate change. But the more and more of them on the blue team that die off, the more and more of them we can replace with millennial and Gen Z politicians that want what we want. Millennials and Gen Z are by far the most progressive generation to date. And we need them in power. But we need the boomers to die off. Both the politicians and the voters, because it's the boomer voters that are keeping the boomer politicians in power. It's the boomer voters that are keeping the GOP relevant. Look around at people you know in your age group. How many of them have you met that are hardcore right-wingers? They are out there. but they are not the majority by any means. From both the millennial and particularly the Gen Z generation, it is an overwhelmingly progressive generation. Both of them are. We're not going to be seeing a blue Senate and a blue House, and probably not, or I'm sorry, we're not going to be seeing a red Senate or a red House of Representatives or even a red team president in a decade, I'd say, because the majority of people that vote red are boomers. They're not going to last very long. And the majority of politicians that are either doing nothing or, if they're on the red team, actively hurting us, they're Republicans. Stop pushing this narrative that we don't need to vote. Voting does nothing. Democrats and Republicans, they're the same to me. If someone is chasing you down the street with a knife and the person across the street doesn't help you, who is more of a threat and who is more morally culpable for any injuries or death that you sustain? I know there are some people that are going to stick to their guns and argue in bad faith and say they're both just as bad, but deep down we both know the person chasing you with the knife is worse for you, is more of a threat, more morally culpable for your injuries and or death than the person on the other side of the street that didn't do anything about it. The Republican Party is the person with the knife. The person on the other side of the street, that's the Democratic Party, at least for now. Please vote blue. It is an afternoon. And then you can go back to doing all of the progressive action, all of the organizing, all of the activism that you already do the other 364 days out of the year. Just one day, election day, each year, you need to vote, and vote, hold your nose and vote blue. And then the next day, you can start shitting on the blue team all you want. But vote for them. I voted for Joe Biden in 2020. Then the day after election day, I was being like, all right, Joe, what are you going to do? Your track record doesn't speak well for you. You better do this, this, and this. I'm going to be disappointed if you don't. And he hasn't. And I would say that I've kept him honest about it, but I'm one motherfucker in the middle of nowhere, America. He doesn't know who I am. But I've been vocal about it. I've been vocal about my disapproval of his administration, but I'm also realistic in the fact that he's better than Trump. He is. He is. Biden, for as useless and spineless as he is better than Trump. And if you need any more evidence, just look at January 6th. Watch the January 6th Commission's proceedings and all of the evidence that they've dug up. But look at January 6th. That's what Trump did. Biden couldn't do that. Biden could not make that happen. He could not try and stage a fascistic takeover of our democratic process. He couldn't, and he wouldn't. And if for no other reason, he's better than Trump. Trump tried to undermine our institutions in more ways than one. Biden's not doing that. We need to hold our nose and vote blue instead of just looking at them and saying neither of them represent me, so they're both the same, even though you know they're not. All right. That was fun. That was fun. That was a good rant. I forgot how much fun this shit is. I think we're going to play some video games after this next video. But, so I found this video. I was looking for some low-hanging fruit just to get me back into the swing of things. So who do I pick up? Who do I search up? None other than Prager you. Thank you, Jose. Welcome to the stream. But Prager U posted a video today, actually, saying that teachers are training Marxist revolutionaries. One thing I've seen on the right is that they don't know what the fuck Marxism is or what a revolutionary is, and so they throw that word around to try and scare people and fearmonger, but they don't even have the balls to do it. Looking at this opening frame, I haven't pre-watched this, but looking at this opening frame, they blurred out student and revolutionaries and whatever this is. Why? If you're calling them Marxist revolutionaries, why not say it with your chest? I don't know. Maybe they're blurring some sort of logo or something so they don't get a copyright strike. Who knows? But let's take a look and see what they have to say.
I have 180 days to turn them into revolutionaries.
How do you do that? How do you
Scare the out of them. Yeah. Sacramento organization that is under the banner of Antifa is very loosely organized, right? So that when there is like right-wing rallies and stuff, then we'll create an opposition to that.
I find it right, me too. I find it hilarious that they look at Antifa, which is just an ideology, just a way of a method of belief, being anti-fascist. And one, they look at it as like it's some sort of super soldier organization, but two, that it's in any way Marxist or leftist to simply be anti-fascist. All that Antifa means is anti-fascism. It's not inherently leftist. It's just not extreme right wing. It's just being against the most right wing portions of our country, I guess, our politics.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Where would he go to connect to some of these organizations?
I post a calendar every week.
Awesome.
And then so it's.
Wait, why are they zipping and zooming around this video? Where would you go to organize to connect with these kinds of organizations? And then it cuts and goes to I post a calendar every week. Are they trying to make it seem like this guy wearing an Antifa t-shirt or tank top, I suppose, is the leader of an Antifa organization, which again is not an organization? Or are they trying to hide the fact that he said it's not an organization, so there's no way to connect with them, that it's just a group of like-minded people that end up showing up to rallies and protests? Now, there are people that are studied in and are able to protest effectively and know the proper way to do it safely, but that's different than being an organized group or an organization of Antifa.
And I do it for extra credit, so they get points for doing it. So that encourages them to do it. And I've had students.
Encourages them to do what? They cut out what he's encouraging them to do. He just said, I post a calendar every week. And then he encourages them to do it without specifying what it is, at least in this video, for extra credit. Is it what? Go to a protest, attend some sort of meeting, or what? They don't specify. This is just patently fear-mongering bullshit.
Students show up for protests, community events, tabling, food distribution, all sorts of things.
So volunteer work. Okay, so they did specify here. They said, I've had students show up to go to protests, community events, tabling, food distribution. Other than protests, that's just volunteer work. So that's not being Antifa, that's just doing charity work.
Distribution, all sorts of things. When they go, they take pictures, they write up a reflection.
I like when they go, not what he said, to Antifa events. He didn't specify that. When they go, I'm assuming to these volunteer efforts, these charity events, but they label it as Antifa events to scare, not you, but to scare people.
That's their extra credit. I have an Antifa flag on my wall, and a student complained about that, and he said it made him feel uncomfortable. Well, this is meant to make fascists feel uncomfortable, so if you feel uncomfortable, I don't really know what to tell you. Maybe.
Based. Having an Antifa flag is not, it's not the same as having a a picture of Mao on your wall, or a picture of Stalin, or even the Soviet flag. It's just an Antifa flag being anti-fascist. And as we all know, fascism is a bad thing unless you're a fascist.
Maybe you shouldn't be aligning with the values that this is antithetical to. So the Cultural Revolution in the 60s was fixing the problem that came about after the economic one. It ultimately failed.
Okay, so he does have a picture of Mao on his wall, I suppose. And a swastika? Why? I'm surprised they're not zooming in on this, but they're showing the picture of Mao.
There was a lot of excesses. People were definitely, like, shot in the streets that probably shouldn't have been.
Your tax dollars at work.
Look at that. He's able to acknowledge the shortcomings and problems with the Cultural Revolution in China. It's almost like he's willing to acknowledge bad things, but say that good things happened alongside it, instead of just hyper-focusing on the bad things or hyper-focusing on the good things like a lot of tankies do. Dude seems pretty well-rounded, if you ask me.
That was a public high school AP government teacher in Sacramento, California.
He's an AP teacher, so that's college-level courses. This is not your fucking base core credit class in high school that you have to take to graduate. This is a volunteer extra, like, above board class that you can take for college credit. It's a college class. Okay? Not every student that goes to that high school is going to be going through his classroom.
Unfortunately, this teacher's aspirations are by no means a rogue event. Ever since Karl Marx, many educators have become enamored with the call to revolution. It's no coincidence.
Marx demands that the intellectual class, the professors of law, sociology, history, women's studies, anthropology, journalism, and so on, come out of the ivory tower and join the barricades, to see themselves not as the preservers of the dusty past, but the creators of a new and glorious future.
Why are you phrasing that like it's a bad thing? That educators and people that are learned in particular topics view themselves as separate than the rest of the country, than the rest of the people. Isn't that some, like, a conservative value, that teachers and professors are no better than the rest of us, so they shouldn't think themselves better? What? I've heard conservatives say that all the time. Why are you saying that like it's a bad thing? That's something that I'm betting, if you weren't making propaganda for Prager, exactly, the intellectual class, even though Marx only ever talked about the proletariat and the bourgeois, not some the intellectual class. It's the working class and the owning class. But as far as I'm aware, now I haven't read all theory, but as far as I'm aware, those are the two classes he mainly concerned himself with. There was no intellectual class.
The lure has proven to be very strong, and it's not hard to understand why. How much more meaningful, exciting, and romantic to see yourself as an agent of change rather than a mere academic. How much—
Doesn't that what you see yourself as? What's your name? What's your name? Brad Thompson. What are you? Professor of Political Science at Clemson University. Isn't that what you see yourself as? By making propaganda for Prager, you see yourself as an agent of change, trying to influence the minds of young people into believing conservative values rather than progressive values? You're a professor. So you being a conservative professor, I guarantee you see yourself as some sort of agent of change in these leftist schools across the country.
Meaningful, exciting, and romantic to see the young people who fill up your classroom as potential soldiers in the cause. Send them into the world with the same revolutionary spirit, the same disgust toward bourgeois middle-class values that—
Bourgeois middle-class values. I'm sorry, the bourgeois are not the middle class. The bourgeois are the owning class. When Marx and leftists at large talk about the bourgeois, they're not talking about Joe Schmo down the street that owns his own lawn care business that employs himself. They're talking about the people that own massive corporations like Apple or Tesla or Facebook or Twitter or Lockheed Martin or Walmart. Those aren't middle class people. Those bourgeois are incredibly wealthy but you're lumping them together because sure, you have the petite bourgeois, which is Joe Schmo down the street with a lawn care business who does all the work himself and uses his own lawnmower. He may be middle class, but the bourgeois that Marx refers to, and leftists at large refer to, the ultra wealthy owning class that own industry in America and I guess across the world.
You feel, and you've done your job. And we must give these lecture hall revolutionaries their due. Look around. For the most part, they've succeeded. Drill
How?
into any current leftist movement, environmentalism, critical race theory, the mass.
Define critical race theory. Define critical race theory, because it's not white people bad. But I will give him this. He's talking about college professors teaching CRT. And it would have to be a college professor teaching CRT for them to actually be teaching critical race theory. CRT is not slavery was bad. CRT is not segregation and redlining were bad. CRT is not even segregation and redlining led to disparate economic outcomes for people of color in America. That's not CRT either. It's a collegiate level legal analysis of reality, I believe. So I guess I will give him that he's talking about at least college professors teaching CRT instead of a middle school teacher like they usually are. Environmentalism is good because climate change is destroying the country.
Massive expansion of the welfare state, not to mention
We're going to
diversity,
need
equity,
that.
and inclusion offices at every university.
Why do they talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion being a bad thing? I'm pretty sure in a lot of areas, especially in major cities, diversity, equity, inclusion would work in conservatives' favor, considering that most people that do the hiring in major cities tend to be at least moderately politically progressive. And if you're considered a conservative in this country nowadays, you're very far right. That might help you get a job, but why do they talk about it like it's a bad thing? Like it's a dirty word.
University and a major corporation, and you will find Marxism at its core, a contempt of the Enlightenment and the Judeo-Christian value system from which
Marxism was built on Enlightenment values. It's not even particularly anti-theist, but it's very much an embodiment of Enlightenment values, democracy, freedom, and things of that nature. It just talks about the workers owning the means of production rather than the bourgeois.
capitalism springs. Marx's most famous call to action.
Capitalism does not spring from Enlightenment values or Judeo-Christian values. I grew up Christian. Jesus talked about not charging interest and helping the poor and the hungry and the downtrodden, and capitalism flies in the fucking face of that. But secondly, Enlightenment values like democracy. In what way is a capitalist company democratic at all? That's what Marx talked about, is moving, bringing democracy into economics, into business, so that it's not just one capital owner at the top that owns everything.
Action. Workers of the world unite.
Yes.
Was not, of course, to the professoriate, but to the laboring class. That didn't work out so well.
Professoriate. Professoriate. Is that even a word? Professoriate. A body of professors. Okay. We have to use the big words so that we sound smart. Why not just say professors? What do you want people to Google every time they watch your video?
Well,
Come on. This is for dumb people.
Especially in the United States, turned out to be more interested in refrigerators than revolutions.
There has not been even a whisper of a Marxist or a communist or a socialist revolution in America at all. Ever In the 200 and nearly 50 years that America's been a thing, there has not been any sort of workers' revolution, and not really any push for it either. Think about the number of people in your life that you know. Think about this, because a lot of people on Twitter LARP about being revolutionaries and wanting to take on the state and take on the bourgeois and having a socialist revolution. Think about it. Think, how many people do you know in your own personal life that you have met organically in person? Not online, not on Twitter or on TikTok, where the algorithms all feed you together into the same cesspool. In real life, how many people do you know that you have met that are actually socialists? Actually communists, anarchists, anarcho-syndicalists, whatever. How many people? Personally, I know one person that I have met in real life, and I'm not going to dox them, but I know one person that I've met in real life that is actually a socialist. I know a lot of progressives. I know a lot of sock dems, but and I know a fuck ton of liberals, but it's not the liberals and progressives and sock dems that are going to be fighting this hypothetical revolution. It's going to be actual, were there to be one, it would be actual socialists. It would be actual communists and anarchists, not liberals. These people think working class means people who get their hands dirty. Exactly. I was arguing with somebody on TikTok. Yes, I know. But I was arguing with somebody on TikTok that was talking about eat the rich. And we're talking about, somebody stitched a video that said, when we say eat the rich, we're not talking about you. Yes, exactly. I've never met a socialist IRL. I've met one. I'm very open about being a socialist in my social life, and I get a lot of weird looks and people's, people have weird reactions to it, but I've met one. But I was arguing with somebody on TikTok. It was like, when we say eat the rich, we're not talking about your dad that makes $100K a year and drives a BMW. And then the Stitch was like, yes, we are. He's rich. And I'm like, my dad makes $200,000 a year, but he's still proletariat. He still works for his money. He works in IT. So yeah, he's very well compensated, but he still does. He's not part of the owner class. He's not the rich that we're talking about. Obviously much easier to find them online, but IRL, they're pretty rare, it seems. Absolutely. It is 100%. It's very rare to find them because not a lot of people know what socialism is. But a lot of people on the left seem to think that if you're rich, you're bourgeois, because they've never actually read Marx or even done any sort of research into his theories. They just think socialism is cool because that's what all the kids online are talking about. Being rich does not mean you're not working class. Owning the means of production means you're not working class. You can be very well compensated. You can be very comfortable, but you don't get rich by being working class. You can't get rich without owning the means of production, especially nowadays. But, back to the video, there isn't some sort of revolution that they're trying to get people to sign up for, because there just aren't that many socialists and communists that were actually up for the task, because liberals and sock dems aren't. They're just like, yeah, we'll vote blue because those people represent me. I'll vote blue because, like I said in my anti-electoralism rant, they're better than the other team, but they don't represent me. But the sock dems and liberals, they do represent them. And they think that's the way to make change. There isn't some massive conglomeration of people that are chomping at the bit for a revolution and getting people to sign up. The store with the refrigerators, that is the status quo. That is the norm. That's what people know, and that's what the majority of people are comfortable with. So of course they're going to want to go buy a refrigerator at a store than sign up for some hypothetical revolution, which doesn't actually happen on the streets of America anyway.
The only barricade they were passionate about was a white picket fence in front of a green suburban lawn. Poor, benighted souls, the appeal of Marxism was somehow lost on them. Maybe because they did...
I'm not going to let you... I'll let you finish in a second. But maybe because they weren't told what Marxism is actually about. They were lied to about what Marx actually believes. We were all taught growing up, if you lived in America at least, I know I was, that socialism, I forget the name of the comedian that said this, but he's also a political speaker, but socialism is when the government does stuff. And the more stuff it does, the more socialist it is. And if it does enough stuff, then it's communism. They were taught that socialism is bad. Look at Venezuela. That's what socialism is, and they're eating rats and starving in the streets. Look at China. Look at how oppressed they are. Look at North Korea. They're communist. Look at how bad that is. When none of those countries are actually socialist or communist. The closest one there is Venezuela, and that's just because they nationalized their oil industry, and then the U.S. fucked them into the situation they're in now. But that's the closest that any of those countries have to do with socialism or communism. But we were taught that these bad places are what communism is, or what socialism is. And so we were conditioned from as young as we were able to conceive of the concept that socialism bad, that communism bad. So of course they're not going to be chomping at the bit to read Marx, to join some communist revolution. Of course not.
Didn't go to college. But the intellectual class
go to college.
Never lost.
They're not, again, there it is again with the intellectual class. They're not teaching Marxism in college. They're not teaching unless you take specific classes on it, they're not teaching the theories and the ideas that Marx talked about in his writings at all in college, unless you take electives about it. The intellectual class.
Even after Stalin, even after Mao, even after Castro wrecked Cuba, even after Pol Pot.
Castro wrecked Cuba. Now, I'm not saying everything that he did was right, but they have better health care, infant mortality, maternal mortality than we do.
Murdered millions of his fellow Cambodians, even after Hugo Chavez destroyed the strongest economy in South America. The academic elite remained true believers.
Chavez. Wasn't Chavez Venezuela? Hugo Chavez. Former president of the Republic of Venezuela. Funny thing is, it wasn't Chavez that destroyed their country. It was U.S. Western, I suppose, imperialism. When they wanted us to pay fair market value for their oil, we tariffed and embargoed the shit out of them and stole from them to drive them into economic despair and destroyed their economy to try and get them beholden to U.S. business interests because they nationalized their fossil fuel industry.
Indeed.
And of course they're doing the communism 100 billion million dead black book of communism meme here.
In a world without faith, where God is dead, Marxism has become, in effect, a substitute religion.
Wrong. They don't. Okay, that looks like it's the end of the video. Marxism is not a religion. What the fuck? Marxism is just an economic theory. In high school, we were taught that the proletariat and bourgeoisie were old concepts that don't apply today, even though those distinctions obviously still exist. Yeah, I was kind of taught the same thing. I was taught that socialism and communism is when the government controls everything, and that bourgeoisie just means rich people that they're trying to get you to hate them, and that it's not relevant today, even though it obviously is, because bourgeois is just the owner class and the proletariat is just the working class. The meaning hasn't changed. They just especially Americans have been conditioned to not think critically about socialism because they have been pumped full of so much bullshit about socialism, communism, what have you.
Against all odds,
Shut
the
up.
Americans won.
Stop. Stupid thing. But yeah, we were lied to our whole childhood, and then they're continuing to lie to us today. Also, these stupid doctors would make the same as grocery clerks And the government owns everything. Exactly, yeah. They have... Now, under communism, sure, grocery workers and doctors would make the same because it's a moneyless society. You wouldn't work for a wage. You would work for the common good or personal fulfillment and things like that. Like, people want to be doctors and save people's lives, and they would do it whether they were making all of the money or none of the money. Like, people are passionate about teaching. Teachers get paid shit wages, but people still go into it because they're passionate about teaching kids, teaching the next generation how math and science and how to exist. But they're paid like shit. Teachers, I think, are actually a really good example of a really good argument for, yeah, people would still be doctors even if they were making the same money as grocery clerks. Because I know grocery clerks that make more money than your average teacher does in my state. I live in Washington. They get paid really well here. There are grocery store workers that make more money than teachers do, yet people still choose to teach. Yeah, the implication is that people wouldn't want to be doctors because you make the same doing easier work. Yes, 100%. Another reason why doctors have to make so much money is because of how much it costs to go to medical school. So they have so much debt that they have to deal with, and so much debt that they have to repay afterwards, that they have to make a fuck ton of money. You graduate medical school with something like $500,000 in student debt. Heavily implied by my lib teacher. Yeah, of course. Liberals, they're not as bad as conservatives, but they're not socialists. I can tolerate liberals though. But yeah, doctors in America have to make fuck tons of money because they have massive student loan repayment debt that they have to pay back before they can even start making any money. So they have to make a shit ton. That's why there's actually a doctor shortage, because so many people were becoming doctors because it was such a lucrative field that it was flooding the market and driving down wages. So they actually lobbied the government to limit the number of medical internship slots each year so that the market doesn't get flooded with doctors, so that the wages don't go down because they have to deal with so much student debt. And now we're looking at a doctor shortage in America because there aren't enough doctors, because they aren't allowed to make more doctors than a certain number because they have to keep their wages up. I think I want to do one more Prager U, and then I might play some video games. I don't know. Or I might call it a night after one more. Thanks for tuning in, by the way. I really appreciate it. I didn't think anybody was gonna be in here. I haven't posted in over a year. So thanks for tuning in. The sexualization of children. Okay, that one sounds cool. Sounds like it's gonna be a crock of shit. Excuse me. Refreshing. All right, so this video by Prager U, I know, low-hanging fruit, is the sexualization of children. Let's take a look.
At what age is it
I
appropriate
appreciate you coming
for
back,
grammar
man. I really
school
do.
teachers to discuss issues like sex and gender with their students?
I believe kindergarten starts at the age of 5, so 5. Because gay people exist and children can get molested. So I'm going to say 5. If the parents aren't doing it sooner, then I'm going to say 5, because that's when kindergarten starts.
Should it be done with kids as young as pre-K?
Yes.
Second grade?
Yes.
Fifth?
Yes.
Even
I had my first sex ed class in 5th grade, but I was lucky. My parents growing up were very open about, and not in like a weird way, about sex and sexuality. Like, my parents were very conservative, so they were like, people are gay, but gay's a sin. But, you know, people are gay, so you might meet some people, like Susie might have 2 moms or whatever. And also, like, what, you know, what your body parts are, and if, you know, a grown-up touches them without your permission, if they're not your doctor, then that's bad. And, you know, so, like, the stuff that young children need to learn to protect themselves from being sexually assaulted. My parents were very good about that, but a lot of parents aren't. And a lot of parents that aren't are the ones that are perpetrating the abuse, because one of the 2 most common places for children to get sexually assaulted or sexually abused is in the home and in the church. If the parents aren't teaching them, there might be a reason why. We need teachers to teach them at least the basics.
A decade ago, the most common answer would have been never. These are simply
Wrong.
not appropriate subjects.
I graduated high school a decade ago, so I can tell you that this is wrong. There was sex ed class when I was going through school. Hang on.
For young children. If for some reason they did have to be raised, it would be the parents' job, not the teachers. Today, it's much different.
Because an entire generation of kids grew up and has now reached adulthood, like myself, having my own child, that grew up with a ton of kids not learning these things and knowing about people that were victims of childhood sexual assault. I was one of them. And my parents did a really good job about teaching me what was right and wrong, and it still happened to me. What about the kids that it doesn't happen to? What about the kids that don't learn about those things? They're even more at risk for sexual assault. It's important for teachers to fill in that gap when the parents don't.
Now these are pressing questions and very much on the minds of parents.
Yes.
They're part of what the media calls the culture war. But parents...
Which media? Which media? My media doesn't call it a culture war. My media just calls it education. The culture war is a right-wing talking point to pit people with conservative values against people with progressive or even modern current values. That there's a war going on. They're trying to teach your kids that, you know, Susie might have a penis, but, you know, they're saying she's a girl, but we know she's not. It's just educating children on what science and psychology and doctors are finding and teaching them kids the facts about life. But it disagrees with their preconceived notions. One of the first video that I reviewed on this stream was Matt Walsh about the gender ideology. And I kind of went over the same thing, that it disagrees with their preconceived notions, so they feel like they're being attacked. There is no war going on except for in the minds of conservatives.
Didn't start this war. The war has been waged on us. Until recently, we had no idea it was even happening. Now it's hand-to-hand.
That's a conservative talking point as well. A victim complex. It's a war being waged on us. It's hand-to-hand combat. That they're teaching kids that things that disagree with my preconceived notions, so it must be a war on us instead of me just being out of date, and I don't want to admit that.
Combat, school boards versus mom and dad. It's not clear who's winning.
Versus conservatives, not mom and dad.
Starting in September 2022, New Jersey first graders will learn about gender identity under new sex education guidelines. A sample lesson plan reads as follows. You might feel like you're a boy, even if you have body parts as some people might tell you are girl parts. You might feel like you're a girl, even if you have body parts as some people might tell you are boy parts. And you might not feel like you're a boy or a girl, but you're a little bit of both. No matter how you feel, you're perfectly normal.
This is actually something that I wanted to touch on. A lot of conservatives talk about how there's a social contagion or a rapid onset gender dysphoria is what they're calling it, where so many kids these days are gay or trans or bi or what have you. They're non-binary than they were in my day. And it must be these liberal teachers. It must be a social contagion. It's because people now know what's going on with themselves and with their own bodies. People know now that being gay is a thing, whereas 200 years ago, they didn't. They didn't know what it meant to be gay, that, being attracted to a man as another man was something that was normal and explainable. So they didn't have a way of interpreting their feelings. They didn't have a way until recently, when we started educating broadly on the concept of trans people, what it meant to be trans. Why do I feel like I don't identify with the body parts that I have? Why does it make me feel uncomfortable that I'm a boy and I have boy parts? Why does that make me uncomfortable? They didn't know because they weren't educated on it. And so people are now being educated on the idea of gender non-congruity, gender identity, gender dysphoria, homosexuality, and things like that. So they know how to identify the feelings that they're having, and they can act on them. If you don't know what trans people are, but you don't feel comfortable in your body, you're not going to know that you're trans until you're made aware of what that concept is, which is why we're seeing more and more people identifying as gender nonconforming, trans, bi-gendered, or non-binary, why we're seeing more people that are gay or lesbian or bisexual or pansexual, things of that nature, because now they know what it is, whereas before they didn't. So they wouldn't have identified. If you don't know what being gay is, you would have no way of identifying as gay if somebody asked you. But now people are more educated on it, so they now have an answer to give when people ask the question.
Yes, Junior might be struggling with his fractions, but never fear. He's rock solid on his preferred pronouns.
Good.
The Evanston Skokie School...
You can learn fractions pretty easily, but it's very important to be able to know who you are.
District 65 in Illinois has adopted a new LGBTQ+ Equity Week curriculum that will teach kids in pre-K and kindergarten about people who have more than one gender or no gender at all.
Good.
Kids in first grade can pick their own pronouns, including Z, Zer, and Tree, and are told they can switch pronouns anytime they wish.
Good. It's important for kids to be able to know that. The thing about children, especially small children, is these are not weird, confusing concepts for them, because they're just figuring out how the world works. They're now learning what the world is. So if you tell a small child, hey, people can have more than one gender, they can identify with none of them, or they can identify with a different gender, or they can be attracted to the same gender or a different gender, or none of them at all, or all of them, they're going to be like, oh, okay. It's not going to be some traumatic experience for them, because they're still figuring out how the world works. Whereas if you tell a 30-year-old that for their entire lives it was drilled into them that boys are boys and girls are girls and men can only be attracted to women and vice versa, and that's it, and that's the only thing, and then you introduce these concepts to them, it's going to be difficult for them to make peace with that and accept that. Whereas children, it's going to be... It's easy for them because it's just a new concept and their brains are sponges. It's not going to be confusing to them at all. And considering that this is how the world works, that you can pick your pronouns. Like, my pronouns are he, him. That's just what I identify as. But if later on down the road I decide that I'm a he, they, I'd rather go by they, them pronouns or she, her pronouns, I don't see that happening. But I can just change my pronouns. And they even kept, neo pronouns like Zer, and I've never heard tree, but I suppose there's no problem with that. You can pick them. It's just teaching kids how the world works. It just, again, disagrees with your preconceived notions.
All feelings are respected all the time.
Good.
Third graders, generally around 8 years old, are also encouraged to overcome their prejudice that gender is binary.
Yes,
parents have
that's
mounted
good.
a counter.
Bigotry and teaching that bigotry is bad are good things. Bigotry is not a good thing. Teaching children that bigotry is bad is a good thing. I wish I was taught this stuff in school. It took me way too long to learn that being trans is totally cool and based. Absolutely. I was raised very fundamentalist Christian, so I was told that being gay was bad, and I never even learned what trans people are. I was taught what gay people were, but that they were an abomination. They were going to hell, and it was horrible and awful. And I, was closeted for a long time as a pansexual man, because it was hammered into me that it was absolutely evil. And it wasn't until I left the church and moved out of my folks' house and was able to do my own research that I learned that no, they're just like you and me. They're no different than me. It's perfectly valid. It's perfectly normal, and it's not a bad thing at all. And I shouldn't treat them differently because of it. If I've been taught, like in this video saying at the age of 8 or 5 or whatever, that yeah, trans people are okay, they exist, then maybe I would have grown up less bigoted, and I would have adopted a more appropriate, in my opinion, worldview much earlier than I did.
Attack. Our deep concern that our children are being prematurely sexualized and thus confused about their identity
there it is
manifest in Florida.
It's always about the sexualization of children. Children are not being sexualized by learning about sexuality. You know what is sexualizing children? Things like beauty pageants, which conservatives, especially in the South, are all about. They love beauty pageants. Like, look at Toddlers and Tiaras. I don't even know if that's still on the air. I haven't had cable in a decade. But Toddlers and Tiaras was a massive show, and that is very much sexualizing children. T-shirts for like little boys that say "lady killer" or talking about drinking milk from mama's tatas, things like that. That is sexualizing children. This isn't. Teaching kids that gay people exist, trans people exist, your gender identity is not solidified, gender's not a binary. I don't know if they could grasp the concept of a bimodal distribution, but like that it's not one or the other. That's not sexualizing children. That's just educating children on gender and sexuality. They're different, but PragerU does a fuck ton of fear-mongering. Nearly all of their videos are fear-mongering people. Venezuela, Vivi's life under socialism. Teachers are training Marxist revolutionaries. Let's see. I asked strangers if America is racist. Something about inflation. Everyone's wrong about the 10-year-old rape victim from 5 days ago. So I bet you this is full of misinformation. Because it was, I think, 3 days ago that it was actually 100% legitimately confirmed that that 10-year-old was sexually assaulted. The one that went to Indiana for her to get the abortion. Israeli Palestinians fear-mongering about Zionism. Let's see. Milton Friedman, no free lunch. Why fathers matter. Let's see. Let's find one more. Marxism requires destruction. PragerU is full of fear-mongering that panders to a conservative audience to work their audience up into a fervor against people that have even moderately progressive views, which is why they use language like the sexualization of children, despite the fact that just educating children about sexuality and gender is by no means sexualizing them. And another tidbit of information that I feel like I have to point out there is that conservative institutions are where you see the most childhood sexual assault at. The Bible Belt in the Deep South and churches are where the majority, at least per capita, of childhood sexual assault and sexual assault against children in general takes place. In the home and at the church. In the South. There's even a meme about Alabama being the incest state. It's conservative organizations and conservative areas where you see children being sexualized. I don't know any of my liberal friends that were down to go to a childhood beauty pageant. But I knew a lot of people at the church that I grew up at that liked the show. It's not liberals sexualizing children. for the most part, it's conservatives. Yet they use this kind of language, sexualizing children, to fearmonger and whip their audience into a fervor about things like teaching kids about sexuality. Let's see, not to mention the Catholic Church and all the atrocities it has committed. Absolutely. Absolutely. A lot of the childhood sexual assault that takes place at churches happens at the Catholic Church. It's even become a meme. It was on South Park. It's been in, like, I'm a big fan of the Dresden Files book, and there's a Catholic priest at a church that the main character goes to a lot that has made jokes about Catholic priests being child molesters. Who are the predominant, what is the predominant political ideology of people that go to Catholic churches? Conservatives. It's not liberals that are sexualizing children. Of all of the politicians in Washington, the majority of the politicians that have sexual assault, and particularly childhood sexual assault allegations against them, are on the red team, not the blue team. There are a few. I understand that Biden has accusations against him, but I mean, they're from adults, so at least it's not children. Still bad, but it's not children. But look at Donald Trump. He owned the Miss Teen USA pageant and bragged about going through the dressing rooms when children were in states of undress. Yet he's looked at as a messiah on the conservative end of the political spectrum by conservatives, by Republicans. He's viewed as a messiah, and yet they're talking at us about sexualizing children by teaching them about the LGBTQ.
Parental Rights and Education Act. Its text plainly states that discussion of sexual orientation is out of bounds. This piece of legislation, which now has counterparts in several other states, has in turn been mocked by progressives. Setting aside the appropriateness of teaching small children that their gender is malleable, or that kids designating tree as their preferred pronoun is okay.
Teaching kids facts is scary, apparently, but having tree as a pronoun is not the same as identifying as a tree. This is the attack helicopter meme. It has to be the attack helicopter memes. Conservatives have two jokes, and one of them's the attack helicopter meme. I swear to God. Just because you use tree as your pronoun doesn't mean you identify as a tree.
Progressives say the Florida law is unnecessary.
It is.
Why? Because these progressives claim these lessons aren't actually taught.
The Don't Say Gay bill, the one that's already causing several school districts to ban their teachers from talking about their same-sex partners, referring to their husbands or wives as husbands and wives, getting rid of their wedding photos that a lot of teachers will like put a picture of them and their spouse. Like all my teachers had their spouse and them, like a picture on their desk. Banning those, banning pride flags, banning anything resembling rainbow, anything that can be interpreted as support of the LGBTQ. Many school districts in Florida have banned that from their school district because of the Don't Say Gay bill.
They're a figment of the parents' imagination.
This is a lie.
Some figment. But if this is all just a fever dream on the right, then opponents of these bills are caught in
It's not a fever dream. The fear you're stoking about it is
their own circular logic. If these topics aren't taught in schools, then why is the bill controversial?
The bill is controversial because it bans the discussion, any sort of discussion, of LGBTQ topics. Even, like I said, teachers saying, my husband if they're a man, or my wife if they're a woman, or mentioning the fact that they're trans. Even if they're not instructing on it, school districts are banning that. That is why the bill is controversial. Kids cannot be gay in Florida. They cannot be open about it, because if they're open about it to their teachers, the teachers are required to out them to their parents. And in many circumstances, that could be literally dangerous to those kids. I can't tell you how dangerous being LGBTQ is if you're in a conservative or especially religious household. I personally know people that were kicked out of their houses and abused for being LGBTQ growing up. I personally knew them. And I live in a blue state. I live in a very progressive area. I live in Washington. I was born in California. The California is what they call it. It's a progressive area. Both the places I've lived have been very progressive, yet it was dangerous for those kids when they came out as gay. And they're forcing teachers to out LGBTQ students to their parents and putting them in danger.
Florida would be legislating against nothing. But that's not what's happening.
You're
Recently,
lying.
in the Glendale Unified School District in California, parents confronted their school board after they learned that a third-grade teacher had shown their kids videos for Gay Pride Month that included nudity and discussions of sexual arousal.
I saw something about this. Hang on. Because they're lying. Hang on. Glenn. Why can't I type? I know as a trans woman who has CPTSD from her childhood, it's so sad. Religious help, of course. I'm sorry you went through that, but like that's what a lot of people on the right don't realize is that it's not simply I don't want my kids to know about this as though it will somehow harm them, but that bill forces teachers to out LGBT students and put them in dangerous situations. Kids can be physically assaulted, emotionally abused, in some cases sexually assaulted. I don't know anyone personally that this has happened to, but I've heard stories online about young women who came out as lesbian to their parents and their father, uncle, or cousin sexually assaulted them to try and turn them straight. Now, I don't have a news report to show everyone or anything like that, but those are things that happen. Because a lot of areas that are deeply religious are also deeply anti-LGBTQ. And if you're a bigoted religious person, particularly Christian or even Muslim, and your child, and you're very devout, and your child comes out as gay, there is something wrong with them. And to you, through your beliefs, that child is an abomination, and no act of evil against them is considered wrong. And that's the way a lot of parents see it. I knew a woman that I was good friends with a guy in high school whose mom literally said to me, this was before I was even out to myself, I was still super deep in the closet, that gay people should be burned and killed in that order. And she legitimately believed that. I couldn't imagine what would happen if one of her kids came out as gay or trans or queer or anything like that. It's fucking terrible. I'm starting to hate organized religion. I despise organized religion. I'm Norse pagan. And being Norse pagan, we're not an organized religion. Like you can organize with your own personal group to go and do a blot or observe a holiday or something like that. But a large part of the why the beliefs speak to me is that it's very much an everyone goes their own way and everyone needs to be accepted. One of the things we like to say is Odin is the all father, not the some father, which is why it really speaks to me that I don't have to worry about being amongst pagans and saying, hey, I'm pansexual. I find everyone, regardless of gender, not everyone, but I can find anyone regardless of gender or identity attractive and not worry about facing bigotry from the people that share the same beliefs as me. I do want to caveat and say that the asatru, the fucking white nationalist shitheads that are aping our iconography and things like that, I don't consider them in the same religion. But things like Christianity, Islam, things like that, I think they're very harmful. Personal beliefs are fine, but when you use your beliefs to stop. Damn it. When you use your beliefs to harm others is where I draw an issue. I'm trying to find the article about it because I heard about this whole teacher in Glendale talking about nudity and sexual arousal and it being bullshit and out of context. Has been transferred for safety reasons. 3 of the videos explain gay pride with songs and animations. One features Love is Love. Okay. Let's see. So, nearly 1 year after a Glendale Unified School District 3rd grade teacher showed videos celebrating gay pride to her students, a debate continues as she has been involuntarily transferred from her classroom. 3 of the videos explain gay pride, I'm assuming, with songs and animations, one featuring Love is Love. Tea Times reported another video talking to kids about Pride Month has been the most public objection amid the nation's debate. The 3-minute video uses the term sexual diversity and coming out of the closet. Let's see. I want my classroom to feel safe and that I can teach my kids to love and accept others no matter their differences. So I'm not seeing anything in here about nudity and sexual arousal. I know that from what I remember, and I can't remember, it might have been in a, I think I remember Walsh talking about it, but basically what apparently happened was that there was a classroom discussion and the words nudity and sexual arousal were used in the discussion, but were not present. There was no nudity in the videos, and there wasn't sexual arousal in the videos shown to the children. It was just brought up in the conversation with the children, and the children were the ones asking the questions. But right-wing news outlets have taken it and fucking run with it 1,000 miles further than it ever was. I'll have to try and find that later on then. I'll try and find the article and then post in the description of this video if I'm able to find it. No guarantees though.
A decade ago, this teacher would have been chased out of town with pitchforks, metaphorically speaking. Today, it's controversial.
I had openly gay and LGBT teachers in high school, and I was in high school a decade ago. 20 years ago, I was in 3rd grade. So 20 years ago, they wouldn't have been chased out with pitchforks. Certainly not in Glendale, California.
The purpose of the Florida law is to stop this sort of education. Activists...
Yeah, to stop teaching kids. The express purpose was to stop teaching kids about the LGBT, but the implied purpose and the way it's being applied in the community, the way it's being applied broadly, is to prevent any sort of discussion or acknowledgement of LGBT at all, including the teachers and the things that they put in their classrooms, and including the students, and causing them harm because of it.
And their media allies say the Florida bill stigmatizes kids who are not heterosexual or who have gay parents.
Yes, it does.
Never mind that being straight is also a sexual orientation. The point...
Yeah, so there was some awesome motherfuckers that were putting out, teachers that were putting out notices to parents of students that they had, that they would only be referring to people by they them pronouns because you can't acknowledge gender, and they would only be referring to people as a spouse rather than a husband or a wife, and that they will not be recognizing even straight relationships because that pertains to sexuality. And I think that was fucking awesome. I heard one of them, I heard tell that at least one got in trouble for that. But ultimately they couldn't do anything with it because it followed the letter of the law. But I thought that was base as fuck.
Point is, any classroom discussion about sex and gender identity should be off the table. It's not surprising parents want...
If that's what you're saying, if any discussion of sex or gender should be off the table, this teacher should only go by they them pronouns and should not, assuming this teacher is straight, should not be referring to their spouse at all, but by any sort of gendered signifier. They don't have a husband, they don't have a wife, they have a spouse. But having a spouse implies sexuality, implies being attracted to someone. So they shouldn't be able to talk about that at all. But didn't you just say a minute ago that being straight is also a sexuality? But if you shouldn't be discussing these concepts, you see where I'm going with this? You see where I'm going with this? If they got what they want, if they're being truly intellectually honest with themselves, this person would use they them pronouns and not refer to any sort of spouse they may or may not have, and not use any sort of gendered signifiers for that person if they refer to them at all. But again, they shouldn't refer to them because that refers to sexuality and being attracted.
It's not surprising parents want to protect their small children from inappropriate lessons that have nothing to do with what school is supposed to be about. You know,
school is supposed to be about teaching kids how the world works, and sexuality and the LGBT community is part of that.
Quaint notions
I keep pausing
like
too
reading,
much.
writing,
Sorry.
and arithmetic. What's surprising is that it's even an issue at all.
So science wasn't on that notice. Science and history were not in that list. Just reading, writing, and arithmetic. Sexuality refers to science and history, I suppose. But of course, conservatives don't want kids learning about either of those things.
Why is
Certainly
this
not
madness?
history.
And what is it if not madness even happening? And who's behind it? It's not like there was a crying demand from 7-year-old boys to identify themselves as a girl or as a boy and a girl.
Tell that to the thousands of suicidal trans children across the country. Tell that to the thousands, and at this point probably millions of children that have taken their own lives because they were trans, because they had gender dysphoria, didn't identify with the gender that they were assigned at birth, didn't identify with or were made uncomfortable by their genitalia, by their body, what have you, but didn't have a way to explain it to themselves or their parents and took their own lives for it. Tell that to those. Tell that to those kids.
These questions are not easy to answer. The sudden eruption of madness is never easily explained, but this much is not in doubt. You're not crazy. They're crazy. You're not crazy to be worried about what your children are learning in school. They're crazy for wanting your children to ponder their sexual identity in 2nd grade.
They are not crazy for wanting to educate children about their sexual identity. Because the lessons aren't solely focused on turning the kids gay. When I was growing up, in my church, it was a thing that SpongeBob was gonna turn your kids gay. I watched SpongeBob, I guess I watched SpongeBob, and here I am. But tons of straight people watched SpongeBob and didn't end up gay. Teaching children about these things isn't going to turn them gay. It's not going to turn them trans. You are crazy for being worried about these concepts. You would be crazy if you didn't worry about your kids being taught misinformation. But you are crazy for being worried about your children being taught what we have determined scientifically, medically, sociologically as the truth.
You didn't start this culture war, they did. But we have to win it.
No, you
or we
conservatives
will all
did.
suffer the
I'm pausing
consequences.
too much.
I say we because I'm one of you. I moved from New York, where I had lived my entire life, to Florida to protect my children. The progressive left is using sexual identity issues as a bulldozer. They've run over the educational establishment, and they're coming for your house.
Oh, really?
Parents,
Oh, so scary.
man
See,
the
fear-mongering.
barricades. I'm Carol Markowitz, columnist for the New York Post.
I love SpongeBob, and I'm still straight, I think. Well, you came out as trans, so... But, I mean, I guess that speaks to it. If you're straight, and you watch SpongeBob, I guess SpongeBob doesn't turn kids gay. I mean, I watched SpongeBob, and I came out as pan, so... But my brother watched SpongeBob, and he's straight. My other brother watched SpongeBob, and he's straight. My little sister, who's bi, didn't watch SpongeBob, because my parents don't have cable. She never found it interesting. So if she didn't watch SpongeBob, how did she end up as bisexual?
Prager University. Thank you for watching this video. To keep PragerU videos free, please consider making a
I apologize. I misread your comment earlier. I misread your comment. I apologize for implying that you were trans. But who is this woman? Who is this woman? I'm sorry. She's a columnist for the New York Post. Okay, so she's not like a professor or anything. So maybe she is one of you. But yeah, that was fun. Some good old PragerU fear mongering. Yes, I apologize. Yeah, I read that I read that earlier as I am a trans woman and not I know a trans woman. So, but there we go. You watch SpongeBob and you're straight. So I guess SpongeBob doesn't turn kids gay, but that's what they legitimately taught, that SpongeBob turns kids gay. Because SpongeBob, the main character, was super effeminate and all this other stuff, and his best friends were all men and stuff like that. And the only female character, there was never any sort of romance and blah blah blah. So like if SpongeBob is such a powerful enough force to turn kids gay, then I can see if that's what they believe, then I can see why they can seem to think that simply teaching children that gay people exist, or that trans people exist, or gender nonconforming people, blah blah blah, the LGBTQ community at large exists. I can see why they think that teaching kids about that is going to turn them gay or confuse them if they're able to consider the idea that something as innocuous as SpongeBob can turn kids gay. Is SpongeBob... I think the creator did say that SpongeBob was asexual at some point. I'm not 100% sure, but I do know... Don't remember him crushing on anyone. I don't think he did. I don't remember him doing so, or being even remotely romantically attracted to anyone. I knew he fell in love with Krabby Patties, I suppose. But no, so the original creator of SpongeBob said that he is ace, but as soon as that, I remember there being a controversy that as soon as the creator passed away, they started making a bunch of Pride merch from SpongeBob's perspective, basically implying that SpongeBob is gay, which on principle I don't necessarily have a problem with that. It just seems kind of sus that they waited until like it was like a week after he passed away that they started doing this thing, those things. He's a sponge after all, biologically accurate it seems. Well, do sea sponges reproduce asexually? Do sea sponges reproduce asexually? Sponges reproduce by both asexual and sexual means. Most proiferans that reproduce by sexual means are hermaphroditic and produce eggs and sperm at different times. Okay, so yeah, that would track, because either sponges reproduce asexually, which would mean he's asexual, or they can, I guess, reproduce with themselves by releasing eggs and sperm at different times, which wouldn't that technically still be asexual reproduction? So yeah, it would track that he'd be asexual. Yeah, that makes sense. So like, yeah, the predominant viewpoint on SpongeBob, at least when I was a young child, was that watching SpongeBob or letting your kids watch SpongeBob was gonna turn them gay, or even like Harry Potter was gonna make your kids Wiccan, which, I mean, I guess I ended up pagan, but my father is Wiccan, but I wasn't allowed to watch SpongeBob growing up, or watch Harry Potter growing up, because of that reason when it's entirely a fantasy world. They didn't say the same things about things like Lord of the Rings or Star Wars, even though it wasn't Christian propaganda. There was nothing Christ-like about either of those things, but they focused on Harry Potter. It's the rights. The right, particularly the Christian right, has a habit or a reoccurring theme of latching on to pop culture icons, things like Harry Potter, things like SpongeBob, or Twilight, or whatever is popular at the moment, like most popular amongst young people at the moment. They'll latch onto those things and teach their congregations that if you let your children consume XYZ media, then that it will influence them in XYZ way. SpongeBob makes them gay. Harry Potter makes them witches. Twilight's gonna, turn them away from Christ because they're gonna want to be a vampire or a werewolf. Things like that. It's a method of control. That if the children grow up alienated from others, because when I was a young child, I wasn't able to watch SpongeBob. I have since watched SpongeBob, but when I was a young child, I was not allowed to. And so during that time frame when SpongeBob was super popular, I was alienated from other children in my age bracket because they were all talking about the latest episode of SpongeBob, and that wasn't a conversation that I was able to participate in, and it led to a level of alienation from the other children in my age group. And that's what the church needs. The church needs you to be at some level alienated from other people around you, because the church has very strong messaging of it's us against the world. Well, if they can create as many barriers between you and the rest of the world that may or may not be Christian, the more they can hammer in on that concept of it's God versus mankind versus sin versus the world. So if they can convince you that if you let your kids watch SpongeBob, they're going to be gay, and you don't let your kids watch SpongeBob, that's one less thing that your children can connect with other children in their own age group. The only people they're going to be able to identify with culturally is other children in your congregation, which is a way to make sure that the only people that they're associating with are fellow Christians. It's a way to alienate and isolate to control, starting at the youngest ages possible. I know they did the same thing with the Steven Universe, with Adventure Time. Now, I was much older by the time this happened, but I did see a messaging from people that I used to go to church with that would talk about these things, that the most popular children's cartoon at the time was somehow satanic, was somehow bad for you, somehow bad for your children. It's so that whatever's super popular, your children don't take part in, to alienate them and be able to control them easier. If that makes sense. But, I think that's all I'm going to do for politics today. I'm going to chop those up and start making some videos. It's been like a year and a half since I've posted any videos because life has been absolutely crazy. But I'm going to go ahead and record an ending bit for each of those segments to plop at the end. And then I'm going to go ahead and play some Elden Ring for a little bit. If you want to hang around, we can chill. But so I'm going to go ahead and record that real quick. Well, thanks for tuning in, everybody. I really appreciate you stopping by my channel. If you liked the video, go ahead and hit the subscribe button, hit the like button if you would be so kind. It really does help me out in the algorithm. In the description below, you can see the links to my other socials. You can follow me on Twitter, as well as on Twitch, though I don't really stream there anymore. I'll be streaming here on YouTube. I hope to be streaming more in the future. And putting out more content for you guys. So I really appreciate it. Thanks for tuning in. You have yourself a good one. Peace. All right. I'm going to play some Elden Ring. Because it's been a little bit since I've actually sat down and played a video game. Because things have been hectic lately. Thanks for being here, Jose. I really appreciate it. It's nice not streaming alone. All right. Let's play some copyright-free music too, because why not? I still got to beat Elden Ring, man. I got stuck at one part. What part are you stuck at? I have beaten everyone except Mog and Millennia. I haven't gone to the not the Erd tree. It's the other area. Hang on, stream beats by Harris Heller. Let's play this. I'm glad to hear. I like hearing your perspective on things. Well, I really appreciate it. I didn't expect anybody but really be here from my my previous postings, so it's really cool that you tuned in. I really appreciate it. Let me go ahead and see. Try again. There we go. Which one did it take me to? Oh. My strength build. Okay. Oh. I'm getting some hiccups. I haven't streamed this before. Let's see. Let's go to medium. Alright, I guess I gotta go back to the title screen. I'm at Crumbling Farum Azula, that one dragon with the red lightning keeps kicking my ass. Are you talking about, excuse me. Whew. Are you talking about the boss or the one on that walkway, the ledge? Turn this down a smidgen. There we go. Do. All right. How are we looking? The ledge one? Are you on PC or Xbox? Where am I anyway? Because I know the ledge one is hard to beat. I just kind of ran past it because there's a grace right after that one. I never did fight the boss. PC? Okay. Oh yeah. Well, if you need help, one of these days I'd be happy to help you out if you're stuck, so... Ooh! No! Oh. It has been a minute since I... No! Don't judge me. I am Bloodhound Steppe plebe. Where are you? There you are. Hey, buddy. Zoom. Ugh. Oh, I didn't know you could run past it. Yeah, you can run past it, and there's like a grace in a doorway to the side of that hallway. I'm pretty sure if I'm thinking of the right spot, but I know you can run past that the dragon. I know that for sure, because that's what I did. Oof. Hello. Bye. Bye. Okay. Oh, shit. That's not good. Oof. I forgot that's a twofer. I am running low. I'm halfway through my Eustace. Okay, where are you? Hi, buddy. Oh my god. Shit. No. What the fuck? Oh. Damn it. It goes from 2 to 4? Okay. Oh, my vape is dead. By the way, since you're one of my older viewers, how do you like my my bisexual lighting that I have now instead of just plain white walls? I thought that was a necessary upgrade. God, I was so close that time. Can't rot him. It's immune to that. Boss looks amazing, by the way, with the effects. It's really cool. With the oh, I love this boss. The thing that disappoints me is that the first one is the first one I fought was Astiel, Natural Born of the Void, which is the knockoff of this boss. Which is disappointing, because, like, it's supposed to be... Like, this boss is super fucking cool, but apparently this one's, like, better, which it is a better fight. There's more abilities, it's more... There's a greater variety and shit like that, but, like, the first one I fought was way easier. Thank you, I really appreciate that. I wanted to get something that made the background a lot less bland and just plain white walls. What do I want to do? I don't have a problem with, we'll try this. Thank you. Those are from my... This whole setup right here is my wife's computer. We have identical computers, but hers is a pink and white setup. So she's got the cat ears and the white, the pink and white chair and stuff like that. What can I use to... Oh. You know what? I'm gonna try the Mimic tier. Because why not? That was great. I never use summons. I mean, my wife and I co-opted this game together, but I never use like ashes, like the summons. Okay, so it is 4. It's 4 the whole time? Yeah, we bought identical pieces, and I asked her what kind of aesthetic she wanted. I did the black and RGB gamer setup, and she was like, I want to do white and pink. And so I got her like the light up RGB RAM and stuff like that, and the white 3070 instead of the black one. Paid a little extra for it, but it really brings the whole look of the PC together. I like the way it ended up looking. I wish mine was a little more cool looking, a little more entertaining, but I'd rather spend a little bit more on her rig to make it look the way she wants, because mine performs just the same, the way I need it to. 3, 4, okay, oh, so it's 3. But yeah, her rig looks really nice, especially when it's all booted up. Like, even when it's not on, shit! The RAM still does its rainfall effect. Come on. Leave me alone. Stop. Stop. One more. Fuck. No, oh, are you kidding me? Look at that. Oh. Are you fucking kidding me? Damn it. I need one more fucking hit. All right, you son of a bitch. Leave me alone. Come on, do your thing. Ring-a-ding-ding. Okay, that's cool. Get his attention. What the fuck? Yes! I didn't know you could visceral this guy. Hell yeah. I'm so fucking good at this game. Bye. Where are you? There you are. I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna be your best friend. I said we're best friends. Stop. Oh, he's teleporting. Where? Where? What the fuck? What the fuck is this move? What the fuck was that? What the hell was that? So that's a move the other guy doesn't do. Hey, buddy. Whack! My tier is gonna fucking... He's dead. It's just me. Okay, let's go. Oh, man. Bye. Okay, you're just gonna poof in right here. That's cool. Hey, buddy. Have a whack. You son of a... No! No! Fuck! Come on, let me heal. You have one fucking hit left. Don't do it. Holy shit. Okay. Oh, the meteors. Fuck yeah! Hell yeah! I did it! I beat him. Woohoo! I mean, I'm like way fucking over leveled. But I beat him. Fuck yeah. Where's the grease? Where is that? Excuse me. I did it. Good job. I thought I wasn't going to be able to beat him. I know last time I fought him for like fucking 2 hours and was just getting my shit pushed in the whole time. Had me on the edge of my seat there. Me too. That was stressful as shit. Isn't this the one at the end of Ronnie's questline, right? Oh no, it's up here. And what's the one I fought earlier? Yeah, I did the bird thing for a while. I'm not... I never once claimed to be a pro... fucking... Dark Souls player. So, like, the only way I can survive is being over-leveled. But, I know the other place I need to do is this. And I guess I could fight the big dragon at the end of, I need to figure out how to get here. I don't know how to get here. But, I know there's, a boss here at, the top of Crumbling Farum Azula. The two-headed dragon guy. But I don't know how to get to him. So this is kind of where I'm stuck. I think this is where I need to go for, to get to the tree. I've got to get past this part. But the archers just fuck me up every time. forget where I need to go. I think it's this way? Right? Or, nope. Oh, it's over here. Frick, man, frick. I feel like I should put a shield on. That's just gonna slow me down, though. Because I know I got a light. I've lit two of them, I think. There's an assassin here. I can't use my fucking... I can't use torrent here. There's two more... Shit! Stop! Leave me alone! Holy fuck, dude. Okay. Where do I need to go? I know I need to get two more of those handles lit. Stop shooting me. I love how big this game is. I have like 130 hours played and I think I'm only halfway through to the end. If you're Crumbling Vera Azul, you're pretty close to the end. But there is a shit ton of content that's not on the linear path to being Elden Lord. Like Millennia, Blade of Mekhala, she's not part of the main quest. She's technically an optional boss, but you can fight her. Have you ever played Monster Hunter? I played Monster Hunter, not the new one, the one before it. I don't remember the name of it, but yes, I have played Monster Hunter. I think I need to get over there. Is there anything I can do? Reduces damage impact to headshots, critical hits. We'll try magic negation. I want to get the new one, but the new Monster Hunter, but I heard it's not on PC yet, and like I spent like $2,000 on my PC, so I want to use it. Come on, don't shoot me. Stop. Fuck. Maybe if I get over there and kill that guy, then I can get up that ladder? Monster Hunter World is the one you're referring to, I think. The new one or the one that I played? Because I think Monster Hunter World is the new one, and I'm waiting for that to come out on PC. Let me see. Monster Hunter Ultimate? Monster Hunter Rise. Was that the new one? 2021? Yeah, so Monster Hunter Rise is the new one. So I have played Monster Hunter World. I just want it on PC. PC. But I don't know if it is on PC yet. The new one is on PC actually. Really? Is it? Okay, I'm gonna have to look into that because I've been wanting to play that one, but I knew for the longest time it was only on the Switch. And like, I have a Switch, but I mean, I'd like to stream it. And I'd also like, I prefer PC gaming anyway. I have the Switch Lite. My wife has the regular Switch, the traditional Switch, but I have the Switch Lite, and for like travel and stuff like that, it's good, but for like gaming at home, you can't plug it into a TV, and you're like kind of tethered to a charging cable. Whereas if like the regular one, you can plug it into the TV and stuff. So if I can get it on PC, that would be fucking awesome. I'm gonna have to do that then. Okay. Where'd that come from? Where did I go? Cotton Eye Joe. That's not what I wanted. That's no good. Go, 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 go. Don't get shot. Please don't shoot me. Yeah, Monster Hunter Rise has been on PC for a while. The new DLC came back a couple weeks ago. Okay, I haven't been keeping tabs on it because like I was like for the longest time I was just like, oh, it's only on Switch. So like, no, let me go. Stop. I hadn't been keeping tabs on it. Okay, I think I can heal here. I'm in the same boat, built a new PC last year and trying to build my game library there. For the longest time, I was an Xbox player because my wife and I, we love gaming together. That's what we've been doing for the last fucking decade we've been together. But we could go to the pawn shop and get an Xbox One for like 150 bucks. Whereas building a PC, like that PC, all of the pieces except the graphics card was like 600 bucks. And then I bought it last year for the graphics card, the 3070 for $1,200, and then the same thing for this one, although I had to wait a year. So I'm like, I've got a $2,000 PC rig. But I don't have any games for it. But Steam has a lot of light flame. Steam has a lot of like rotating specials where certain games will come free for like a weekend or something like that. So if you stay on top of it, like I missed out on Ark Survival Evolved, which is a game we both really love, being free on Steam. I mean, we have it on Xbox, so I can always play it on like the Xbox Anywhere app, but which lets you just play it with PC controls and stuff like that. But I didn't have it on Steam, and I was kicking myself because I missed out on it. Or if you wait till like summer or Christmas sale for Steam sales, it's really worth it. Where's the other one? So I think I've got 3. 1, 2. Do I need to heal? Where's the other one? Yeah, buying a graphics card was brutal the last couple of years. Absolutely. You know what pissed me off? What pissed me off? So this year, when I got my tax returns back, I'm like, I'm going to buy a graphics card because this PC that's under my desk right now was sitting with... Here, I'll grab it for you. I'll grab it. My stepbrother gifted me this, a Radeon HD 6870. My camera's flipped, but which is like a 15-year-old graphic. Like it's worse than the 10 series. I can't run shit. But he gave that to me after I got the 3070 for my wife's computer because I wanted to get Windows installed, just so I can get it installed and get all of my games installed so that as soon as I got a graphics card, I could just plug and play. And it sat like that for a year. I bought it with this tax return, bought I bought that one to match her white aesthetic this year. And I paid like $1,300. Had I waited 3 months, crypto market crashed, the silicone shortage lessened, and now you can buy 3070s at MSRP. I got lucky and bought a 3060 Ti for $550. Hell yeah. Hell yeah, you didn't get price gouged by a scalper. Apparently, so I bought that white one. Let me see if I can turn this shit on, just so you can see it. But there's her PC, right? I bought the white one on Amazon, but it was $1,200, and I was like, fuck. Well, I'm buying it from Amazon, so it's not like I'm buying it from a scalper, so... Because I felt bad about buying my first one from a scalper. But I was like, I'm not buying it from a scalper. I can feel a little bit better. This is just what the market's like. Apparently, you can resell shit on Amazon like it's new. Or like you're an actual retailer. So I ended up buying a scalped one anyway without knowing it. Ew. My vape. But the good part about buying it on Amazon is, if it for some reason didn't show up, Amazon would have refunded me. Whereas the one that I bought that's in my PC, I bought on Facebook Marketplace and just met the person in Seattle. So like it was a direct handover, and I opened the box before I left to make sure that there was indeed a graphics card in there. Hang on. What is the name of this place? I'm Google machining. Ordina Liturgical Town Puzzle. Okay. We'll go to this one. I heard the 3060 is like just as powerful as the 3070, and I kind of wish I'd waited for like, I mean, I wish I waited until the graphics card market had fixed itself, because I spent 3090 money on 3070s. I could have got a couple 3080s and put it on our rigs had I waited, but I was impatient. You know what? We're gonna YouTube machine this. I know, fucking scalpers drive me nuts. How to solve? How long is this? 2 minutes. Yes, that's where I'm at. Thank you. Yeah. The MSRP for it is pretty close to the same too, I think. But I just wanted a 30 series, especially since I'm doing, at least for now, a 1 PC stream setup, and I know the 30 series has like hardware set up in it so that I can stream pretty decently with it as compared to like the 20 series. Okay, so there's a thing that I missed. All right, so how do I get back to there without getting killed? The shield is useless. Give me my big bonk. Strength build all the way, baby. So there's one this way, I guess. There's a mystical wall, so I can't go much further. Oh, there's the ladder. Okay. I just know after this point, there's some sort of progression that haven't gotten yet. I don't want to know what it is. And of course, I'm gonna have to help my wife do it too. Yes. Okay. Gas 1. I want this guy's armor. I don't know where to get that armor. Down, run over. And there's one on the ground here. Okay. So there's 4. Is there 4? Okay, so I have the 2 up top. Perfect. So if I jump down... Oh no. Did I get myself lost? Shit. Hang on. We're going back. Around the first corner and up. Okay. First corner. Which is this one. Stop it. A seal was broken in town. Oh, it's teleporting me out. Okay. That's cool. Well, there was a wall here. Oh, a teleporty bit. Okay. What the fuck? Behold hope. Behold rump. Right then. Try tongue butthole. Right finger butthole? Do the other ones go away? It is kind of cool that, like, outside of the Evergold, you can kind of map out this town ahead of time. I didn't do that because I'm stupid, but you can do it. I guess this was the only one? I know there was more. Fuck it, let's go through the teleporty thing. Let's go! That's not what I wanted. There it is. What is this? Scarlet. Oh no. No, no. Fuck. This is the Yep, Mikkela's Halig tree. Give me a grace. Where the fuck do I need to go? Up to the top? Is there any build better than the bonk build? I think not. Try ranged battle? Dace, no good. Oh, bye. Fuck. Alright, so it's getting a little late. I think we're gonna give this one more try to get to the next grace, and then I'm probably gonna end up calling it there. We're coming up on 3 hours now. So, and I gotta let the dog out of its let the dog outside. Oh. Okay, so that wasn't much of a try. I just lost like 200,000 souls. That's fun. These guys don't have a lot of health. Although, to be honest, I mean, I know, like, the fucking bird, unless they've patched it, is a lot better of a farming area, but goddamn. Let's see. Let's try... Is it this one? Okay then. I do like the spell effect of this one. The weapon art for this sword. I don't know where the fuck I'm supposed to be going. Hang on, let's put my bonk back on. And we'll put this one on secondary. I have a heavy load. Shit. Let's swap this one back to attributes. Nope, that didn't fix it. There we go. That way I can carry both if I need to. So I can use the ability if needed. Hi there. Hello, Mr. Bubble Man. Oh, you have range, my friend. Oh, God, they can hit me under the branch. Bye. Holy shit. Since when can you do that? What the fuck? Wailing stone? Be wary of magic. Oh. Oh no. Oh God. Holy shit. Okay. So I need to fucking plan and strategize this. Okay. So I guess that's gonna be I think that'll be it for me tonight. Why the fuck does my remote stop working? So I think that's gonna be it for me tonight, guys. I appreciate you for tuning in, Jose. I really appreciate you being here. It's nice to have somebody to chat with. But it's gonna be, that'll be it for me tonight. I'm definitely gonna start streaming more, uploading more. I know it's been a long time that I've been gone, but I wanted to get back into content creation for a while. Bubble magic meta. I've seen some builds that use the I know my wife has it. I don't think I have it in my inventory, but the weapon for the bubble magic that you can use yourself. And I've seen some builds that's been pretty effective for, but I might try that on another build. I've got a magic build going on right now, but I love strength builds. They're just so much better in my opinion than everything else. I tried a dex build, I just couldn't do it. But looking forward to your future vids. Thank you. The 3 that I recorded tonight, I guess 4. I think I did 4 tonight. That I did tonight, I'll be uploading. I'll be chopping down and editing, and they won't be as edited as my previous ones because I think I'm just gonna film my live stream react videos and then upload those without editing. I am going to do more heavily edited content with that's like standalone non-streamed content. Like I'm going to do one on the Roe v. Wade abortion thing that's going on right now. There's a lot of misinformation floating around about what is legal, what's not legal, how the ruling is going to affect women in given states, things like that. I'm going to do a long form kind of video essay, I guess, that's going to be heavily edited for that, but that's not going to be live streamed. But as far as my live stream content, I'm going to do some reacts and then video games like I did tonight, to start uploading more while I work on my more long form heavily edited content. But I think I'm gonna call it a night here. I really appreciate you tuning in, and I think I'm probably gonna end up streaming either tomorrow or Friday. Probably tomorrow if you want to tune in, probably around the same time, around 8 o'clock Pacific time. So this is my first time hopping back into it. I'm going to create myself a little schedule, figure out what days of the week I'm going to be streaming, things like that, and go from there. But I'll be streaming. You know what? I'm going to do it tomorrow. If you want to tune in tomorrow at 8 p.m. Pacific time, I'm going to be reacting to other content and then probably video games after that. But thank you again for tuning in. I really appreciate you being here, man. But you have a good one. All right. Peace.